This video represents a few of the highlights of our life stories. The Albert William Meyer story. My parents are Abraham Meyer Jr. and Margaretha Sheen Meyer. I have two older brothers, Ernest from my father's first marriage, and Casper, who is 18 months older than myself. I was born in this home in Calgary, Alberta in 1929. These are the only baby pictures that I have. The rest were lost in the fire. In 1930, we moved back to Hill Spring, a hamlet some 20 miles west of Cardston. It was my father's intent to build a knitting factory there. But this was not to be. On April 25th, 1932, he passed away. Because of my tender years, I can only remember a few of my Hill Spring experiences, like the time Cass and I were riding. We came to a small ditch. The horse decided to take a drink. He put his head down, and I went sliding right into the water. My first brush with death came early in life. I was about 5 years old and playing in a field near our home. I got too close to the back end of a horse, and wham! I got kicked right in the head. I'll bet I broke all records for the 100-yard dash as I raced for home. I was rushed to the Cardston Hospital by a kindly neighbor who owned one of the few cars in Hill Spring at that time. After they stitched up my head, I was treated to my first store-bought ice cream cone. This next experience would change our lives forever. It was a cold, wintry day in February 1935. Casper was home from school with the measles, and Mother had just gone upstairs. Suddenly, she appeared in the doorway, shouting, "The house is on fire! The house is on fire!" I can still see the column of smoke as it followed her into the kitchen. Mother quickly bundled us up and sent us to the neighbors for help, but there was very little that could be done. When it was over, we were left with a few personal belongings in the piano, but most of all, the knitting machines were saved. Mother would use these machines to support her family for most of her life. When Mother's parents learned of the tragedy, they sent tickets for her to return to Holland. But Mother had promised her husband before he died that she would raise her family where the church was strong, and that's exactly what she did. Somehow Mother persuaded a friendly banker to loan her the money to buy this building on Main Street in Cardston. It was soon transformed into a home, factory, and retail store. Here are some of the responsibilities I had as a youth. First off, we had a cow that had to be milked, and a small barn that had to be cleaned. The barn was located in the area now known as the Lions Park. We had chickens and a small garden behind our home. The chicken coop had to be cleaned weekly, and the garden, it seemed, that was always in need of weeding. Casper and I had a paper route we worked together. Cass sold on the street, and I delivered to the homes. Regardless of the weather, rain, wind, sleet, or blizzards, the newspapers must get through. It was a sunny afternoon, time to deliver my papers. I was wearing a brand new pair of blue jeans. What a relief to get away from those short pants. I slung my paper bag over my shoulder, grabbed my stilts, and I was off. Then I heard Mother's voice. "Leave your stilts at home, Bill. Leave your stilts at home. I don't want anything to happen to those new jeans." I waited for Mother to go back in the house, and then when I was sure no one was looking, I took my stilts and I was gone. I knew I had done the right thing when I got to the creek. I could ford the stream with my stilts and save a long hike back to the bridge. I was part way over when one stilt got stuck in the mud, and over I went. My side was soaked to the bone and covered with mud. What was I going to do? I washed the mud off as best I could, and then the thought came to me, run, run, Bill, run. Run till your jeans are dry, and run I did. When I got home, I felt that I had averted a major assault on my backside. But alas, all was lost. I forgot to allow for the 2 to 3 inch shrinkage of that wet leg, and I was dead meat. We also delivered handbills for the theater. Our pay? A free show, which we thought was great. We boys spent many hours in our small factory, winding skeins of wool to bobbins. Mother would then knit this wool into various products. When I look back on those early years, Mother seldom expressed her love to us verbally, but her actions always spoke louder than words. I was about 9 or 10 years old when Casper and I took up boxing. The reason? We were the only kids in town that wore short pants, courtesy of our grandparents in Holland. When we were called sissy short pants, a fight would usually follow, and we didn't always come out the winners, but that was soon to change. Years later in high school, Cass would be challenged by a school bully. When the dust had cleared, the big boy looked like he had been hit with a truck. He never landed one solid blow. One boxing experience Cass and I will never forget took place in the village of Etna, 5 miles south of Carson. We were billed, Toots and Casper, the Meyer twins, and won our matches against the local favorites, the Deuce twins. We were rewarded with a trip to Lethbridge, courtesy of the sports editors of CJOC Radio and the Lethbridge Herald. We toured the radio station and even talked on the air. We also toured the Herald building and ate in a restaurant. When we were put on the bus for our trip home, we were both given a big bag of marbles. Wow! We thought we had died and gone to heaven. Here I am, showing off one of my favorite hobbies, model airplane building. My first memorable answer to prayer as a youth took place when I was around 12 years old. It was in the middle of winter. A blizzard was raging with temperatures well below zero, and my cat had come up missing. The storm had lasted for 3 days, and not a sign of Malby. A week had passed, and still no cat. Mother had done her best to prepare me for the inevitable. Malby had perished in the storm. With tears running down my cheeks, I retired to our small bedroom to pray for Malby's safe return. And then the miracle happened. While on my knees, I heard scratching on the window pane. I looked up to see Malby sitting on the window ledge, wanting to come in. Do you think you could ever convince me that the Lord doesn't answer the humble prayer of a young boy? Second Ward, Aaronic Priesthood, March 1942. Living the word of wisdom was never a problem for me. All you have to do is surround yourself with good, clean, living friends. I was 13 when this picture was taken. I'm now 15 and pictured with my grade 9 class. World War II was now raging. Many young men, including Casper and myself, had joined the Air Cadets. In 1944, we moved to Calgary. Mother was employed with the Caldwell Knitting Company, Casper was going to business college, and I was attending a technical school for automobile mechanics. My first job between semesters was at Brooks, Alberta. I worked for a small garage owner who was starting a Ford and Mercury dealership. There wasn't a branch of the church in Brooks, and I didn't own a car. So on Sundays, weather permitting, I would mount my trusty steed, 3-speed bicycle, and pedal about 5 miles on gravel roads to the home of brother and sister Orr for church services. Casper was living in Calgary at this time and got involved with the Farloff Boxing Club. They were looking for young boxers and would pay $60 for one fight. That was as much money as I could earn in a month. So, where do I sign? I hadn't boxed for at least 3 years. I had no place to train. I didn't even own a pair of boxing gloves. But if I got knocked out, so what? I still get the $60. I signed a boxer by the name of Don Simpson. I had never heard of him, but that was okay because I'm sure that he had never heard of me. At the weigh-in before the fight was a boxer named Laddie Don. I had seen him fight before, and in his last 5 bouts, none of his opponents had made it through the second round. He had a killer instinct. When I asked Cass who Laddie Don was fighting, he replied, "You, little brother, you." No way. I was signed to fight a boxer named Don Sinton. Well, that's right, was Casper's reply. That's his real name. His ring name was Laddie Don. He was an experienced pro on the way up. He had 5 previous knockouts, and I was to be his 6th. But when the smoke had cleared and the battle was over, the judges called it a draw. The newspapers called it a double knockout after the bell, and I called it quits. I moved back to Calgary in 1945, the same year that World War II ended, and worked for Hutton's Electric. It was at this time I took up my old radio and a turntable and started to cater for church dances.